Huntsville, Alabama is one of the fastest growing cities in the South. Listed by several publications as one of the best cities to live in America, maybe you've thought about moving here and all you need is a little encouragement. If that's you, then maybe you could take my word for it. I just recently moved here because me and my wife got married, and she is an engineer who works here in Huntsville, and thus far, I really like it. And I think you might like it too, because Huntsville has got a lot to offer. First off, Huntsville is growing incredibly fast. In fact, it is now the largest city in Alabama, and yet it still kind of has that small city charm. Here you get all of the amenities of living in a big city, like great food and a fantastic music scene, but without all the hustle and bustle. Our downtown is small, but really pretty and very safe. But unlike urban sprawls like Atlanta and Nashville, it doesn't take an eternity to get around. I have been stuck in Nashville traffic many times, and let me tell you what, it is a breath of fresh air how fast you can get around here. One time one of my coworkers asked me to take a drive across town, and I thought it was gonna take like 45 minutes, and the place that they wanted me to go was 15 minutes away. To get from downtown Huntsville to the suburbs of Madison, it takes like 30 minutes tops. Usually more like 20 minutes. Most of the time I can make it anywhere I need to be in under 15 minutes, and let me tell you what, I have gotten spoiled. I can grab pizza downtown and then 10 minutes later be all the way up Montesano for a hike. And speaking of Birmingham, Nashville, and Atlanta, Huntsville is not far from any of those. This makes Huntsville kind of the ideal hub. You can get anywhere you need to go in the South in a pretty short period of time, relatively speaking. And unlike Nashville or Atlanta, you're not gonna have to pay an arm and a leg to live there. In fact, the cost of living here is fantastic. The South is so cheap, guys. If you don't live in the South, move to the South. It's wonderful. Like, don't get me wrong, the city is growing and therefore some costs have gone up, but it's still nowhere near as much as what you're gonna find in the rest of the country. And we're still way below national average in terms of rent. The more I've traveled the country, the more I've realized that I'm probably staying here for the rest of my life because everywhere else is just too expensive. Growing up in Alabama, there was this sense that I was living in a backwoods, tiny, out-of-the-way, boring place, and that all of the cool, exciting things were elsewhere. But now that I've traveled around a lot, I've realized that most big cities are pretty similar. They all offer the same sorts of things. Oh, we have great music. Oh, we have great food. Oh, we have a great brewery scene here. And Huntsville has all of that. We are right next to the historic Muscle Shoals, and therefore we have a pretty fantastic music scene. Our Orion Amphitheater is the 7th most successful in the entire country. We have amazing breweries like Straight to Ale. We have some of the most delicious coffee shops like Gold Sprint and Charlie Foster's. And we are swimming in Southern cuisine. Not to mention some of my favorites like Rosie's, Sam and Greg's, or the Poppy and Parliament, which is like an authentic British pub in the middle of downtown. It's really great. And with this being an engineering town, it is a very nerdy town. My wife is a member of a thriving swing dance scene. At one of those dances, I met a guy who is on the board of a local opera. Later that week, we saw some of those same people perform improv at Shenanigans. Caving is huge here because Huntsville has an insane amount of caves. In fact, the National Speleological Society makes its home right here in Huntsville. And I know tons of people here who do rock climbing, ultimate, and a million other things. And let's not forget the art scene here in Huntsville. H-Phil Blast has its headquarters at Low Mill, and Low Mill is an old textile mill that they have turned into a bazaar of sorts for local artists. There, they can sell their jewelry, clothing, paintings, photography, all sorts of interesting and eclectic shops and boutiques that you can check out there. I like to visit the Dragon Forge Cafe, which is a coffee shop that is made up to look like a medieval fantasy cafe. It's really cool. And that's not even scratching the surface of the fascinating history of Huntsville and our role in the space race. Without Huntsville, we wouldn't have made it to the moon, and you can learn all about that at our Space and Rocket Center, where you can look at real rockets, which I think is pretty dang cool. This is a city of innovation and science. A city where airplanes and helicopters and satellites are built. A mecca for engineers and consequently a great place to start a career, or maybe even a family. I've heard the school system in Madison is exquisite. So in short, if you are looking for a cool new place to live, I would recommend Huntsville. But of course, I'm biased because it's awesome.